he does that.
All right, Chad.
And we know that they took down the plexiglass that had been put up there earlier, deciding that it wasn't necessary. We saw both of the candidates arrive here just a short time ago and have been in their holding rooms and now about to come out for what was originally going to be a third debate, but ends up being the second and final debate between these two men.
We're about 10 seconds away. Kristen Welker, there are 6 segments, 15 minutes each, a 2-minute statement by each candidate at the top, followed by discussion. And so we will turn it over to our colleague, NBC News, Kristen Welker.
We're live.
A 2-minute statement.
Don't pull that up or it's going to echo back and forth like last time.
Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm Kristen
go back to OBS and see if we can do both. It's live.
And I welcome you to the final 2020.
Thanks for joining us if you're watching already. Bear with us as we're figuring all this stuff out. Go back to OBS and see if we can do both.
Sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. It is conducted under health and safety protocols designed
So you have to close. Thanks for joining us if you're watching already. Bear with us as we're figuring all this stuff out.
No cheers, boos,
Off the computer?
interruptions, except right now.
Do you have that one browser still open?
Former Vice President Joe Biden and President Donald J. Trump.
Go down to your browser real quick, Ted. No, your Chrome. Off the computer? Pull it up. Look at the vote conservative ones, make sure you're not still. Yeah, you're still playing that. That's why you're getting to go back and forth. Close that out. Yeah. There you go. That should be better. Oh, here we go.
Want to say a very good evening
let's get a beer.
both of you. This debate will cover 6 major topics. At the beginning of each section, each candidate will have 2 minutes uninterrupted to answer my first question. The debate commission will then turn on their microphone only when it is their turn to answer. And the commission will turn it off exactly when the 2 minutes have expired. After that, both microphones
just going through the rules right now as far as
behalf of the voters, I'm going to ask you to please.
I want to see how biased the muting is.
Oh, it's going to be so biased.
Each other and for the American people to hear every word of what you both have to say.
Yeah, whatever.
And so with that, if you're ready, let's start.
Mute your microphone.
We will begin with the fight against
the
coronavirus. President Trump, the first question is for you. The country is heading into a dangerous
Hey guys,
new
thanks for
phase.
joining us.
More than
What's up, guys?
40,000
Live at the
Americans
debate
are in
right
the
now.
hospital tonight with COVID, including
Let's hear what
record
they have to
numbers
say.
here in Tennessee. And since the two of you last shared a stage, 16,000 Americans have died from COVID. So please be specific. How would you lead the country during this next stage of the coronavirus crisis? 2 minutes uninterrupted.
So, as you know, 2.2 million people modeled out were expected to die. We closed up the greatest economy in the world in order to fight this horrible disease that came from China. It's a worldwide pandemic. It's all over the world.
He doesn't look full like he did last time.
Many other places
Joe
right
Biden.
now.
Like last time
he
it
looks
looked like he
very
was full of life.
wilted almost.
I think he's like allegations have
I'm sure.
Rate is way down and much lower than almost any other
I don't
country.
think Trump will mention them, but I really hope he does.
Fighting it hard. There is a spike. There was a
he's
spike
gonna
in
mention.
Florida.
You think so?
It's now gone.
He did it with the
There was a
60
very big
Minutes
spike in
interview
Texas.
he did
It's now gone.
with Leslie.
There was a very big spike in Arizona. It's now gone. And there are some spikes and surges in other places. They will soon be gone. We have a vaccine that's coming. It's ready. It's going to be announced within weeks, and it's going to be delivered. We have Operation Warp Speed, which is the military.
You're
is
about to
going
hurt him
distribute
with that
the
death that
vaccine.
just happened today.
I can tell you from personal experience that
Which death?
There was a death. One of the volunteers that.
Oh, for the trial?
Yeah, for the
And
trial.
I will
Oh,
tell
really?
you that I had something that they gave me, a therapeutic, I guess they would call it. Some people could say it was a cure. But
Him and
I was
his
in for a
cure.
short period of time, and I got better very fast, or I wouldn't be here tonight. And now they say I'm immune. Whether it's 4 months or a lifetime, nobody's been able to say that, but I'm immune.
I'm
more and more
immune, I'm
people
bulletproof,
are
everything
getting
now.
better. We have a problem.
My spidey
that's a
sense is tingling.
worldwide problem. This is
Dude,
a
like, why am I
worldwide
so
problem.
nervous? Like,
But
I'm
I've
You're
been
nervous?
congratulated
Yeah,
by
because
Really?
this is
many
like
countries
make or
on
break
what
it
we've
for
been able to do.
Car Republic.
With
You know.
if you take a look
I'm
at
less
what
nervous for
we've
this one
done
than I was
in
last
terms
time.
of goggles,
I don't know why.
masks, and gowns, and everything else,
Yeah.
and in particular,
Most people have
ventilators. Right
voted
now,
and it's
we
gone
get
right in the trash.
all
Yeah.
over the world.
But still,
Thousands
like
and
it's,
thousands a month
I love the country
distributing
so
all
much
over
that
the world.
it can just to
will
see
go
it
away,
just
and as I
go
say,
right down the
we're
drain.
rounding the turn,
There were
we're
already
rounding the corner. It's going away.
200,000, I believe it was,
Former Vice President
like
Biden, to you,
legally
how would you
disqualified
lead the
ballots
country
from
out of this
mail-in voting
crisis?
already.
You have 2 minutes.
There's a lot more than that because in one state it was like over
220,000 Americans
337.
Jeez.
You hear nothing else I say tonight.
hear this. Anyone who's responsible for not taking control, in fact, not
he's drawing something. He's about
I
to
take
write
no
it.
responsibility initially.
Taking notes.
Anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as president of the United States.
No, he's got
of
some
America.
up his sleeve right now. He's
We're in a
smiling. He's
situation
hiding
where
the
there are
smile.
1,000
He's got
deaths a day.
I think Trump's actually going to do
1,000
better
deaths
on
a
this
day.
with the
And there
mic
are
being
over
muted.
70,000
It's going to give him time to sit back,
cases per
listen,
day.
and like
Compared
be
to
strategic.
what's going on in Europe,
He's going to
as
demolish
the New England
him.
Medical Journal said, they're starting from a very low
That's
rate.
my hopes.
We're starting from a very high rate. The expectation is we'll have another 200,000 Americans dead between now and the end of the year.
He's lying.
If we just wore these masks, the president's own advisors have told him,
Magical
we could
mask.
save 100,000 lives.
Ooh, so
And we're in a
still
circumstance
100,000
where the
die.
president
So
thus far and still has no plan.
see, if I was
no
Trump, I would have had a big
comprehensive
Sharpie.
plan. What I would do is make sure
What's the
we
plan?
have
What's your plan?
everyone encouraged to wear a mask
Okay,
all the time.
ooh.
I would make sure we move in the direction of rapid testing, investing in rapid testing. I would make sure.
How's that going to
plagiarizing.
save anybody,
He's
though?
plagiarizing. Trump has already done that.
Well, you know, Joe Biden had to drop out of the 1988 presidential race because he plagiarized his,
Yeah.
was it his final paper in college, like when that was brought out?
In the whole world said for the first time ever that the way this president has responded to this crisis has been absolutely tragic. And so, folks, I will take care of this. I will end this. I will make
So
sure
Trump
we
has
have a
already
plan.
encouraged
President
testing,
Trump, I'd like
rapid
to
testing.
follow up with you and your comments. You
I
talked
wanna
about
hear you
taking a
say it.
therapeutic. I assume
It's
you're
gonna be
referencing
great.
Regeneron. You also said a vaccine will be coming within weeks.
Yes.
Is that a guarantee?
No, it's not a guarantee, but it will be by the end of the year. But I think it has a good chance. There are two companies, I think, within a matter of weeks, and it will be distributed very
Can
quickly.
you tell us which companies?
Johnson & Johnson is doing very well. Moderna is doing very well. Pfizer is doing very well, and we have numerous others.
All
And then we
companies
also
I am
have
now a
others that
major
we're working on
stockholder
very
in.
closely with other countries, in particular Europe.
Maybe not
Let
major,
me follow
but
up with you, and because this is new information.
2.5
You have
shares.
said a vaccine is coming soon
Hey,
within
better than
weeks
nothing.
now. Your own
You're right.
officials say it could take well into 2021 at the earliest for enough Americans to get vaccinated. And even then, they say the country will be wearing masks and distancing into 2022. Is your timeline realistic?
No, I think my timeline is going to be more accurate. I don't know that they're counting on the military the way I do, but we have our generals lined up, one in particular that's the head of logistics, and this is a very easy distribution for him. He's ready to go as soon as we have the vaccine, and we expect to have 100 million vials. As soon as we have the vaccine, he's ready to go.
Vice President Biden, your reaction
scary.
that just 40% of Americans say they would definitely agree to take a
I won't take
coronavirus
it.
vaccine if it was
don't think I
approved by
will
the
either.
government.
I'm a
What steps
Republican.
would you take to give Americans
don't trust it.
confidence
I
in
just
a
have a hard
vaccine
time
if it were
trusting it with it
Make
being
sure it's
so
totally
rushed.
transparent. Have the scientists of the world see it, know it, look at it, go through all the processes. And by the way, this is the same fellow who told you this is going to end by Easter last time.
Oh,
This is the
God,
same
get
fellow
off
who told
it.
you that, don't worry, we're going to end this by the summer. We're about to go into a dark winter. A dark winter.
Especially
And
if you
he has
win.
no clear plan, and there's no prospect that there's going to be a vaccine available for the majority of the American people before the middle of next year.
President Trump, your reaction, he says you
I don't
have no
think we're going to
plan.
have a dark winter at all. We're opening up our country. We've learned and studied and understand the disease, which we didn't at the beginning. When I closed and banned China from coming in heavily infected, and then ultimately Europe, but China was in January. Months later, he was saying I was xenophobic. I did it too soon. Now he's saying, "Oh, I should have, moved quicker." But he didn't move quicker. He was months behind me, many months behind me. And frankly, he ran the H1N1 swine flu, and it was a total disaster, far less lethal, but it was a total disaster. Had that had this kind of numbers, 700,000 people would be dead right now, but it was a far less lethal disease. Look, his own person who ran that for him, who, as you know, was his chief of staff, said it was catastrophic. It was horrible. We didn't know what we were doing. Now he comes up and he tells us how to do this. Also, everything that he said about the way
It's the sound of freedom
move
opening.
that he said we should make,
Opening up a can of
that's what
freedom
we've
on your
done.
head.
We've done all of it, but he was way behind us.
Vice President Biden, your response.
My response is he is xenophobic, but not because he shut down access from China.
What did he say?
He is xenophobic.
Countries had already done that.
How?
In addition to that, what he did, he made sure that we had 44 people that were in there in China trying to get to Wuhan to determine what exactly the source was. What did the president say in January? He said, no, he said, he's being transparent. The president of China is being transparent. We owe him a debt of gratitude. We have to thank him. And then what happened was we started talking about using the Defense Act to make sure we go out and get whatever is needed out there to protect people. And again, I go back to this. He had nothing. He did virtually nothing. And then he gets out of the hospital and he talks about don't worry, it's all going to be over soon. Come on. There's not another serious scientist in the world who thinks it's
Come on, man.
President Trump, your reaction?
I say over soon. I say we're learning to live with it. We have no choice. We can't lock ourselves up in a basement like Joe does. He has the...
Who has their phone on?
We don't lock ourselves in the basement like Joe does.
A lot of money someplace, but he has this thing about living in a basement.
What'd he say?
People
He
can't do
said
that. By the way,
people
I,
can't
as
make
the
money doing that, but Joe
president,
makes money doing that somehow.
It's coming.
Yep.
He's warming it up.
I can't do that. And Kirsten, every meeting I had, and I'd meet a lot of families.
It's pretty bad. Only
Gold Star
58,000 people are
families
watching
and military
NBC
families.
right now.
That is bad.
And I had to meet them.
We got more than that on our stream.
It would be horrible to have canceled everything. I said, this is
60,000 people right now watching ours.
You catch it. And I caught it. I learned a lot. Great doctors, great hospitals.
Worth a shot.
And now I recovered.
What?
See if we can open OBS twice.
Of young people
Stream on that one to
99%.
I kind of want to see like the other people, like how many views they're having
we
from
can't
other.
close up our nation. We have to open our school, and we can't close up our nation, or you're not going to have a nation.
And of course, the CDC has said young people can get sick with COVID-19 and can pass it. Vice President Biden, I want to talk broadly about strategy, though.
Can I respond to that?
30 seconds, please, and then I have a question.
No, number one, he says that we're learning to live with it. People are learning to die with it. You folks
That's so
had
stupid.
an empty chair at the kitchen table this morning. That man or wife going to bed tonight and reaching over to try to touch their out of habit where their wife or
He's trying to
husband
make
was.
people
It's
feel
gone.
sympathetic.
Learning to live with it.
But
Come on.
I'm sorry,
Die
but
with it. Because
65,000
he's
people
never
die
said
every year of
it's
the flu.
dangerous. When's the last time? Is it really dangerous still? Are we dangerous? You tell the people it's dangerous now? What should they do about the danger? And you say, I take no responsibility.
Let me talk about your two.
Excuse me, I take full responsibility. It's not my
Oh,
fault.
his eyes just got what?
It's China's fault. And you know what?
I wasn't
It's not
expecting
Joe's
that.
fault that it came here either. It's China's fault. They kept it from going into the rest of China for the most part, but they didn't keep it from coming out to the world, including Europe and ourselves.
Vice President Biden.
Fact
Good
is,
job, Trump. For
No, that was great.
knew it
That was excellent.
coming. When it hit, what happened? What did the president say? He said, don't worry, it's going to go away. Be gone by Easter. Don't worry. The warm weather. Don't worry. Maybe inject bleach. He said he was kidding when he said that. But a lot of people thought it was serious.
This dude's so
a whole
stupid.
range of things the president has said. Even
Stopped
today,
himself.
he thinks
He's
are
doing good
Well,
tonight.
that's
Doing
because
really
his
good.
mics are off. Their mics are off.
100,000 more people.
Even if they weren't, he's stopping
Trump.
himself.
Look, perhaps just to finish this, I was kidding on that, but just to finish this, when I closed, he said I shouldn't have closed. And that went on for months.
Yes, he did. He did say that. So quit shaking your head like you're lying. I'm like he's lying.
Joe Biden even has that like
When I closed, he said,
confused
"This is a
old
terrible
man
thing,
face,
xenophobic."
like-
I think he called me racist even, and because I was closing it to China. Now he says I should have closed it earlier. It just
He's
Joe,
not
it
fit
doesn't
to be a
I
matter.
didn't say
president.
either of those things.
You
I didn't
certainly
say should have
did.
called
You
Lucy,
certainly
and
did.
I talked about his xenophobia in a different context. It wasn't about
How are you gonna-
closing the border to Chinese.
So you can't talk
coming to the
about
United States.
the
I wanna talk
coronavirus
about
at the
both of your
time and then say you're
different
talking about
strategies
something
to
else when you call him a
I shouldn't have
xenophobe.
closed
That makes
the
no
border.
sense at all.
That's obvious.
right. You're talking on both
Is that-
sides of your
do you wanna
mouth
respond to that
again.
quickly, Vice President
No.
Biden? Okay. Let's talk about your different strategies toward dealing with this. Mr. Vice President, you suggested you would support new shutdowns if scientists recommended it. What do you say to Americans who are fearful that the cost of shutdowns, the impact on the economy, the higher rates of hunger, depression, domestic and substance abuse outweighs the risk of exposure to the virus?
What I would say is I'm going to shut down the virus, not the country.
That's so stupid.
To cause the country to have to shut down.
That might be
in large
the
part.
least intelligent
Businesses
answer
have
I've
gone
ever
under, why
heard.
schools
Like,
are closed, why so many people have lost their living. explained and why they're concerned. Those other concerns are real.
They lost their living because every state that is still almost shut down is still a Democratic state. California, New York is just now starting to open up still. Look at Michigan. Here in Michigan. Car pest of a governor.
No, I'm not shutting down the neighborhood, but there are, look, you need standards. The standard is if you have a reproduction rate in a community that's above a certain level, everybody says, slow up. More social distancing.
What?
Do not open bars and do not open gymnasiums. Do not open until you get this under control, under more control. But when you do open, give the people the capacity to be able to open and have the capacity to do it safely. For example, schools. Schools, they need a lot of money to open. They need to deal with ventilation systems. They need to deal with smaller classes, more teachers, more pods. And he's refused to support that money, or at least up to now.
Let's talk about schools. President Trump,
I think we have to respond, if I might.
Please, and then I have a follow-up.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Look, all he does is
so he's
being very nice. He's being very, very nice.
Well, he's typically like this. This is the Trump I like seeing. This is him being well-mannered, being calculated, and like actually bringing his A game. Last time was horrible.
Yeah, very unprofessional.
It's two completely different
Trumps, yeah.
All he talks about is shutdowns. No, we're not going to shut down, and we have to open our schools. And it's like, as an example, I have a young son. He also tested positive. By the time I spoke to the doctor the second time, he was fine. It just went away. Young people. I guess it's their immune system.
Let me follow up with you, President Trump. You've demanded schools open in person and insist they can do it safely. But just yesterday, Boston became the latest city to move its public school system entirely online after a coronavirus spike. What is your message to parents who worry that sending their children to school will endanger not only their kids, but also their teachers and families?
I want to open the schools. The transmittal rate to the teachers is very small, but I want to open the schools. We have to open our country. We're not going to have a country. You can't do this. We can't keep this country closed. This is a massive country with a massive economy. People are losing their jobs. They're committing suicide. There's depression, alcohol, drugs at a level that nobody's ever seen before. There's abuse, tremendous
but think
abuse.
About it.
We have to
the parents use those times to go to school so they can go to work.
Right.
Those parents use schools as a babysitter.
Absolutely.
Those parents need to go back to work so they can support their family. Come on, guys. Like, this is common sense.
We ought to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time.
Two things you can't do.
Safely open. But would they need
he can't even walk and talk, much less walk and talk and chew gum.
For example, if you're going to open a business, have social distancing within the business. You need to have, if you have a restaurant, you need to have plexiglass dividers so people cannot infect one another. You need to be in a position where you can take testing rapidly and know whether a person is in fact infected. You need to be able to trace. You need to be able to provide all the resources that are needed to do this. And that is not inconsistent with saying that
Trump has the most testing in the whole world.
Open safely. And by the way, all you teachers out there, not that many of you are going to die, so don't worry about it.
That's not what he just said.
Come on.
President Trump, let me follow up with you quickly.
By the way, I will say this. If you go and look at what's happened to New York, it's a ghost town.
It is.
It's a ghost town. And when you talk about plexiglass, these are restaurants that are dying. These are businesses with no money. Putting up plexiglass is unbelievably expensive, and it's not.
It is. The price of plexiglass is like quadrupled in the last few months.
Around with plastic. These are businesses that are dying, Joe. You can't do that to people. You just can't.
Or require them to operate at 20% occupancy.
My wonderful city for so many years, I loved it. It was vibrant. It's dying. Everyone's leaving New York.
Take a look at what New York has done in terms of turning the curve down in terms of the number of people.
That's because they killed everyone.
And I don't look at this in terms of the way he does. Blue states and red states.
Yes, you do.
The United States.
Well, we could argue that the reason they've been able to flatten the curve so much is because of all the support they got from Trump. They had an entire ship, like a hospital ship, come in there to take care of people.
That's where the spike is occurring significantly.
He wants to interject so bad.
They're all Americans. And what we have to do is say, wear these masks, number one. Make sure we get the help that the businesses need that has money's already been passed to do that. It's been out there since the beginning of the summer, and nothing's happened.
Right.
I don't understand why they still
more than 40,000 people, 11,000 people in nursing homes.
President Trump, what
when
about...
you say spike, take a look at what's happening in Pennsylvania, where they've had it closed. Take a look at what's happening with your friend in Michigan, where her husband's the only one allowed to do anything.
Yes.
It's been like a prison.
Get her.
Now it was just ruled unconstitutional. Take a look at North Carolina. They're having spikes, and they've been closed, and they're getting killed financially. We can't let that happen, Joe. You can't let that happen. We have to open up. And we understand the disease. We have to protect our seniors. We have to protect our elderly. We have to protect especially our seniors with heart problems and diabetes problems. And we will protect them. We have the best testing in the world by far. That's why we have so many cases.
Let me follow up with you before we move on to our next section. President Trump, this week you called Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's best-known infectious disease expert, quote, a disaster. You described him and other medical experts as, quote, idiots. If you're not listening to them, who are you listening to?
I'm listening to all of them, including Anthony. I get along very well with Anthony, but he did say, don't wear masks. He did say, as you know, this is not going to be a problem. I think he's a Democrat, but that's okay. He said this is not going to be a problem. We are not going to have a problem at all. When Joe says that, I said, Anthony Fauci said, and others, and many others, and I'm not knocking him a lot. Nobody knew. Look, nobody knew what this thing was. Nobody knew where it was coming from.
I think they did know.
We've learned a lot. But Anthony said,
that's for another episode.
Masks. Now he wants to wear masks. Anthony also said,
Bill Gates was behind it.
That's the side I didn't even talk about. I was wondering why I seemed so quiet and muffled. My mic facing the wrong way. Now I'm really loud, though.
Very loud.
I'll just put it
How do I
about,
sound? Do I sound
put it about here.
Do I sound okay? Can y'all hear me?
Oh, yeah.
He was told this was a serious virus that spread in the air, and it was much worse than
not working chat over there.
He went on record and said to
the reason we are late coming live is
that in fact he knew how dangerous it was. But
give me a C.
Give
me an H.
He didn't want us to panic.
Give me an A.
He didn't want us. Americans
give me a D.
panic.
What does that spell?
Chad will give you. Chad will give you a D.
My kids are watching this.
Your kids are watching it? They should be in bed.
My son loves Trump.
They should be in bed. Go to bed.
My daughter loves Trump.
Because we got to get moving.
I'm very happy.
I
won't say letters anymore. I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding. They're sleeping.
Better be.
Whoa.
You have raised a lot of money, tremendous amounts of money, and every time you raise money, deals are made, Joe. I could raise so much money.
It's coming. It's coming. Come on, big guy. Come on, big guy.
I honestly hope he doesn't.
No, I hope he does call him big guy. I hope he calls him big guy. Oh no, I hope he does. Like, this is the only time Americans are going to know what's happening.
I could blow away your records that, like, you wouldn't believe. We don't need money. We have plenty of money. In fact, we beat Hillary Clinton with a tiny fraction of the money that she was able to.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to move on.
Average contribution, $43.
All right, we're going to move on to our next section, which is national security. And I do want to start with the security of our elections and some breaking news from overnight. Just last night, top intelligence officials
$43 is the closest you'll be to 46.
Are working to influence this election. Both countries have obtained U.S. voter registration
46
information, these officials say, and Iran said intimidating messages.
I was saying the $44 that he was talking about is the closest he'll get to 46.
What would you do to put an end to this threat? You have two.
It was a little bit of a reach for a joke, but I'm happy with it. I'll double down on it.
I made it clear that any country, no matter who it is, that interferes in American elections will pay a price.
What about China?
They will pay a price. And it's been overwhelmingly clear this election, I won't even get into the last one, this election, that Russia has been involved.
Actually, you were in it. So
you're right. Russia did pay, what was it, like $10,000 for ads?
$10,000, that's all they paid. Oh, such a big amount.
They're interfering with American sovereignty. That's what's going on right now.
They got approved by Google. The ads went through the process like everybody else when you pay for an ad. Goes through a little period where it has to get approved, and it made it. So if you want to blame anybody, blame Google.
And I don't know what he has recently said, if anything, to the Iranians. My guess is he'd probably be more outspoken with regard to the Iranians. But the point is this, folks. We are in a situation where
Iranians already said they want Biden to win.
Countries trying to interfere in the outcome of our election. His own national security advisor told him that what is happening with his buddy Well, I will.
Ooh,
His buddy,
do it.
Rudy Giuliani, he's being used as a Russian pawn. He's being fed
That's so
information
stupid.
that is Russian.
I don't think you
that
want to
is
go down
not
this
true.
road, Joe.
And then what happens?
He's
Nothing
losing his
happens.
stuff.
And
He's
then
already
you find
losing his
out
mind already. The
everything
steroid
that's
shots are
going
already
on
taken
here
off.
Hold up.
About Russia is wanting to make sure that I
He's
do not
smiling.
get elected the next president of the United States because they know I know them and they know me. I don't
Yeah, they
understand
still got
why
W-2
this
from him.
president is unwilling to take on Putin when he's actually paying bounties to kill American soldiers. in
Oh,
Here we go
Afghanistan.
with this guy.
He's engaged in activities that are trying to destabilize all of NATO. I don't know why he doesn't.
Come on,
do
it's
it,
the
but
longest
it's
2
worth
minutes I've ever
asking
seen in
the
my
question.
life.
Why isn't that being done?
Right, we should get a
Any
stopwatch
country
going.
interferes with us will, in fact,
I
pay
got
a
one.
price because they're affecting our sovereignty.
All right, let's see how long Trump
President
gets.
Trump, same question to you. Let me ask the question. You're going to have 2 minutes to respond. For 2 elections in a row now, there has been substantial interference from foreign adversaries.
See, why aren't they
What
letting
would you
him?
do in your next
Because he knows he's
term
going to bring
to
up.
put an end to this. 2 minutes
Well,
uninterrupted.
let me respond to the first part as Joe answered. Joe got $3.5 million from Russia, and it came through Putin because he was very friendly with the former mayor of Moscow, and it was the mayor of Moscow's wife, and you got $3.5 million. Your family got $3.5 million, and you know someday you're going to have to explain why did you
It's
get $3.5 million. I never
happening.
got
Probably
anybody from
through the
Russia.
Shell Corporation. I mean, Sun
Now,
Hunter.
about your
Charisma?
thing last night, I knew all about that, and through John Ratcliffe, who is fantastic, DNI, he said the one thing that's common to both of them, they both want you to lose because there has been nobody tougher to Russia. Between the sanctions, nobody tougher than me on Russia. Between the sanctions, between all of what I've done with NATO, you know, I've got the NATO countries to put up an extra $130 billion, going to $420 billion a year. That's to guard against Russia. I sold, while he was selling pillows and sheets, I sold tank busters to Ukraine. There has been nobody
Got him.
tougher on Russia than Donald Trump. And I'll tell you, they were so bad. They took over the submarine port. You remember that very well. During your term, during you and Barack Obama, they took over a big part of what should have been Ukraine. You handed it to them, but you were
Right.
getting a lot of money from Russia. They were paying you a lot of money, and they probably still are. But now, with what came out today, it's even worse. All of the emails, the horrible emails of the kind of money that you were raking in, you and your family. And Joe, you were vice president when some of this was happening, and it should have never happened. And I think you owe an explanation to the American people. Why is it? Somebody just had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family, but what he said was
Oh, they shut it off.
damning. And
Oh, I thought they shut the
regardless
feed
of
off.
me, I think
Oh
you
my
have
gosh, I thought they just
talk
shut
to the
YouTube down
American
because of it.
people. Maybe you can do it right now.
Vice President Biden, you may respond. 30
straight
seconds.
here.
And then I do want to follow up on the election security.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China.
Because he has businesses in China.
Talking about me taking money? I have not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever, ever. Number one. Number two, this is a president, I have released all of my tax returns, 22 years. Go look at them. 22 years of my tax return. You have not released a single solitary year of your tax return. What are you hiding? Why are you unwilling? The foreign countries are paying you a lot. Russia's paying you a lot. China's paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country, all around the world. And China's building a new road to a new a golf course you have overseas.
That's not the same
What's going on
as
here?
like getting
He's talking
paid
about
directly.
that. Yeah, exactly. So you heard it.
President Trump, your response.
First of all, I called my accountants, underwrote it. I'm going to release them as soon as we can. I want to do it, and it'll show how successful, how great this company is. But much more importantly than that, people were saying $750. I asked them a week ago, I said, what did I pay? They said, sir, you prepaid tens of millions of dollars. I prepaid my tax. Tens over the last number of years. Tens of millions of dollars I prepaid. Because at some point they think it's an estimate. They think I may have to pay tax. So I already prepaid it. Nobody told me that.
Did your
Right.
account
That's
tell you-
exactly what I said last time when we were talking about it.
Wasn't written when whenever they write this, they keep talking about $750, which I think is a filing fee. But let me just tell you, I prepaid millions and millions of dollars in taxes. Number one. Number two, I don't make money from China. You do. I don't make money from Ukraine. You do. I don't make money from Russia. You made $3.5 million, Joe, and your son gave you. They even have a statement that we have to give 10%
to the big guy.
To the big man. I don't know, maybe you're not, but you're the big man, I think. Your son said we have to give 10% to the big man. Joe, what's that all about? It's terrible.
All right, gentlemen, I want to ask you both some questions.
Oh, yeah, we got to sidestep that.
I'm going to let you both
Can't talk about that.
very quickly. You just said you spoke to your accountant about potentially releasing your taxes. Did he tell you when you can release them? Do you have a deadline for when you're going to release them to the American people?
How can this go untalked about, though?
Because
they don't want it to.
Deep down in the IRS.
How can you think it'd be a good thing, though, to not talk about it?
I get treated very badly by the IRS.
Oh, I understand that.
But we had a deal all done. As soon as we're completed with the deal, I want to release it. But I have paid millions and millions of dollars, and it's worse than paying. I paid in advance. It's called prepaying your taxes. I paid in advance.
Right, you're supposed to do it quarterly.
I want to ask you both about questions regarding your potential foreign entanglements and questions that have been raised to give you both a chance to talk about this more broadly. Respond very quickly, and then I'll get to my question.
Why did he's been saying this for 4 years?
What?
Show us. Just show us. Stop playing around. You've been saying for 4 years you're going to release your taxes. Nobody knows, Mr. President. What they do know is you're not paying your taxes, or you're paying taxes that are so low. When last time he said what he paid, he said, I only pay that little because I'm smart. I know how to game the system. Come on. Come on.
Just talking about his taxes still.
President Trump, and then I want to get to two questions to both.
My thing is, he talks about like he released his taxes. Again, it didn't show anything.
3 years.
Well, what criminal is going to put it on their taxes?
Started before I even got elected. They spied on my campaign. No president should ever have to go through what I went through. Let me just say this. Mueller and 18 angry Democrats and FBI agents all over the place spent $48 million. They went through everything I had, including my tax returns, and they found absolutely no collusion and nothing wrong. $48 million. I guarantee
they went through Trump's taxes?
On you, Joe,
Yeah, they went through everything in that investigation.
So if they went through their taxes, how come one of them didn't leak it? That's what I want to know.
Family has taken. I mean, your brother made money in Iraq, millions of dollars. Your other brother made a fortune, and it's all through you, Joe. And they say you get some of it, and you do live very well. You have houses all over the place. You live very well.
All right, gentlemen.
Not bad for somebody making less than $400,000 a year.
Vice President Biden, there have been questions about the work your son has done in China and for a Ukrainian energy company when you were vice president. In retrospect, was anything about those relationships inappropriate or unethical?
Okay, she's going to ask him direct. You better get an answer.
With regard to Ukraine, we had this whole question about whether or not, because he was on the board, I later learned of a Burisma, a company, that somehow I had done something wrong. Yet every single solitary person, when he was going through his impeachment, testifying under oath who worked for him, said, I did my job impeccably. I carried out U.S. policy.
No one said that.
Not one single solitary thing was out of line. Not a single thing, number one. Number two, the guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about me.
Because he was looking into you.
Would not do and did not do, because it never, ever, ever happened. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about...
In terms of...
What are you talking about? China. I have not had... The only guy made money from China is this guy.
Come on, man.
Nobody else has made money from China.
President Trump, let me ask my question to you.
But could I just one thing?
Very quickly.
His son didn't have a job for a long time, was sadly no longer in the military service. I won't get into that. And he didn't have a job. As soon as he became vice president, Burisma, not the best reputation in the world. I hear they paid him $183,000 a month. Listen to this. 183, and they gave him a $3 million upfront payment.
All right.
And he had no energy.
I'm going to let the Vice President respond to that quickly, and then I need to get to a question to you. Very
no
quickly.
basis for that. Everybody investigated that. No one said anything he did was
they're
wrong.
investigating right now. Don't you worry.
Okay, President Trump, this is for you. Since you took office, you've never divested from your business. You've personally promoted your properties abroad. A report this week, which was referenced, does indicate that your company has a bank account in China. So how can voters know that you don't have any foreign conflicts of interest?
I have many bank accounts, and they're all listed, and they're all over the place. I mean,
They've been gone through during the whole Russia investigation.
The bank account you're referring to, which is everybody knows
business
about,
bank account,
it's listed. The bank account was in 2013. That's what it was. It was opened it was closed in 2015, I believe. And then I decided, because I was thinking about doing a deal in China, like millions of other people. I was thinking about it, and I decided I'm not going to do it. Didn't like it. I decided not to do it. Had an account open, and I closed it.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then, unlike him, where he's vice president and he does business, I then decided to run for president after that. That was before. So I closed it before I even ran for president, let alone became president. Big difference. He is the vice president of the United States, and his son, his brother, and his other brother are getting rich. They're like a vacuum cleaner. They're sucking up money.
President Trump, thank you. We do need to move on. I do want to ask you, Vice President Biden, about China. Let's talk about China more broadly. There have, of course, President Trump has said that they should pay for not being fully transparent in regards to the coronavirus. If you were president, would you make China pay? And please be specific. What would that look like?
What I'd make China do is play by the international rules, not like he has done. He has caused the deficit of China to go up, not down, with China, up, not down. We are making sure that in order to do business in China, you have to give all your intellectual property. You have to have a partner in China. It's 51%. We would not do that at all, number one. Number two, we're in a situation where China would have to play by the rules internationally as well. When I met with Xi, when I was still vice president, he said we're setting up air identification zones in the South China Sea. You can't fly through them. I said we're going to fly through them. We just flew B-52, B-1 bombers through it. We're not going to pay attention. They have to play by the rules. And what's he do? He embraces guys like the thugs like in North Korea and the Chinese president and Putin and others, and he
basically saved us from going to war with them, but whatever.
All of our allies. We make up we're 25% of the world's economy. We need to be having the rest of our friends with us saying to China, these are the rules. You play by them or you're going to pay the price for not paying by them economically. That's the way I will run it, and that's what we
Isn't that what he's been doing this whole time?
Steel tariffs and a range of other things when we were president and vice president.
All right, let's talk about North Korea.
Excuse me, no, I have to respond to that.
Okay. Very quickly. And then
exactly.
With $1.5 billion from China to manage after spending 10 minutes in
You're supposed to be muting his mic. Why does he keep interrupting him?
Right.
Number one. Number two, there's a very strong email talking about your family wanting to make $10 million a year for introductions.
President Trump, on China policy, though, what specifically are you going to do? What specifically are you going to do to make China pay? You've said you're going to make them pay.
China is paying. They're paying billions and billions of dollars. I just gave $28 billion.
New sanctions?
I just gave
Shut up and let me answer.
To our farmers.
Taxpayers' money.
It's what?
Taxpayers' money. Didn't come from China.
You know the taxpayer it's called China. China paid $28 billion, and you know what they did to pay it, Joe? They devalued their currency, and they also paid up. And you know who got the money? Our farmers, our great farmers, because they were targeted. You never charged them anything. Also, I charged them 25% on dumped steel because they were killing our steel industry. We were not going to have a steel industry.
Okay.
And now we have a steel industry.
Okay, Vice President Biden, your response, please.
My response is, look, this isn't about, there's a reason why he's bringing up all this malarkey.
It's starting. He's losing his mind.
About the substantive issues. It's not about his family and my family. It's about your family. And your family's hurting badly. If you're making less than, if you're a middle-class family, you're getting hurt badly right now. You're sitting at the
because you're keeping the economy shut down.
Well, we can't get new tires, they're bald, because we have to wait another month or so. Or are we going to be able to pay the mortgage? Or who's going to tell her she can't go back to community college? They're the decisions you're making. And the middle-class families like I grew up in Scranton and Claymont.
Oh, my God.
They're in trouble. We should be talking about your families, but that's the last thing he wants to talk about.
I want to talk about North Korea. I do want to turn to
please.
10 seconds, Mr. President.
That's
10
a
seconds.
typical political statement. Let's get off this China thing, and then he looks, the family, around the table, everything. Just a typical politician when I see that.
Let's talk
I'm
about
not
North
a typical
Korea now.
politician.
Okay,
That's why I got elected. Let's get off the subject of China. Let's talk around sitting around the table.
All right.
Come on, Joe, you can do better.
We're going to talk about North Korea now. President Trump, you've met with North Korean leader
He's
Kim
murdering
Jong-un
him this
3
time.
times. You've
I would
talked about
actually
your
agree
beautiful
with
letters
that.
with him. You've
Murdering.
touted the fact that there
Like,
hasn't
not
been a
just
war
beating
or
him.
long-range missile test, and yet North Korea recently rolled
Well,
out
Joe
its
Biden's trying to
first
make
ever
it to where he's a
intercontinental ballistic
family-friendly
missile and
president, like
continues to develop its nuclear
Obama
arsenal.
was.
Do you
He
see
like
that as a
he was
betrayal of the
a family
relationship?
type of
George,
man,
just 30 seconds here because we
and
need to get on to the next.
So when I
and it's
met
hurting him a
with
little bit.
Barack Obama, we sat in the White House right at the beginning, had a great conversation. It was supposed to be 15 minutes, and it was well over an hour. He said the biggest problem we have with North Korea. He indicated we will be in a war with North Korea. Guess what? It would be a nuclear war, and he does have plenty of nuclear capability. In the meantime, I have a very good relationship with him. Different kind of a guy, but he probably thinks the same thing about me. We have a different kind of a relationship. We have a very good relationship, and there's no war. And you know, about
And there's no
2
missiles
months
going
ago,
off.
He
has
broke
one
into
every
a
couple
certain area. They
months.
said, oh, there's going to be trouble. I said, no, they're not, because he's not going to do that. And I was right. Look, instead of being in a war where millions of people...
There's actually some huge news coming out of North Korea 2 days ago.
Say it again?
There's some really big news coming out of North Korea 2 days ago.
About what?
About Kim himself, like, basically breaking, like, tradition and stuff. And
Oh yeah, he was crying in front of his people.
Right,
Said,
he's a-
I am so sorry for how I've treated you.
You would
Yep.
be able to rein in this persistent threat right
Because I'd make it clear, which we were making clear to China, they had to be part of the deal. Because here's I made it clear, and as a spokesperson of the administration when I went to China, that they said, why are you moving your missile defense up so close? Why are you moving more forces here? Why are you continuing to do military maneuvers with South Korea? I said, because North Korea is a problem, and we're going to continue to do it so we can control them. We're going to make sure we can control them and make sure they cannot hurt us. And so if you want to do something about it, step up and help. If not, it's going to continue. What has he done? He's legitimized North Korea. He's talked
What
about
is
his
wrong
good
with
buddy
that?
who's a thug, and he talks about how
He's trying to get us into a war.
See, my thing is, why do you want to treat a country bad? Bring the country in, show them that the world can love you, just like it is with anything else. Put a McDonald's in North Korea.
On the condition that he would agree that he would be
Just kidding.
drawing down his nuclear capacity to get the Korean Peninsula should be nuclear-free zone.
All right, let's move on to American families.
They tried
Very
to
quickly,
meet with
10
him.
seconds,
They
President.
tried to meet with him. He wouldn't do it. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like him. He wouldn't do it.
Okay, I
know
gotta
for
give him a
fact they
chance to
tried.
respond to that
He
before we
wouldn't
move
do
on.
it.
You
And
know
that's
why?
okay. You know what? North Korea, we're not in a war. We have a good relationship.
Yeah, what is wrong with a good relationship with another country
Right.
to keep them from fighting with us?
Leaders of other countries.
We have a
It's a
lot of
good thing.
we have a lot of questions to get
Yes,
to.
not
Your
like
response.
Saying we had a good relationship with Hitler before he, in fact, invaded
Shut the hell up.
the rest of Europe. Come on.
Oh my
The
God.
reason he would not meet with President Obama is because President Obama said, we're going to talk about denuclearization. We're not going to legitimize you, and we're going to continue to put stronger and stronger sanctions on you. That's why he wouldn't meet with us.
All right,
And it
let's
didn't
move
happen.
on. Let's
Excuse
move on
me.
and talk
He
about
left
American
me a
families.
mess.
Yeah, let's move on from everything that's
He
positive.
left me a mess. North Korea was a mess.
We
And
need
in
to
fact,
move
if
on
you
so that
remember
we
the
can get
first
to all
2 or
of
3
our
months,
questions tonight,
there was a
President
very
Trump.
dangerous period in my first 3
There
months.
was. It was
before
super
we
dangerous.
sort of
Tensions were
worked things
so
out.
Oh, like
high.
they said
There was
that
a
Trump
very-
had a
they
nuclear
left
warhead
us
coming to hit in
a
Hawaii
mess,
where he
and
was
Obama
golfing.
would be, I think, the
For
first
like
to
when
say
he was
it the
golfing, there was a
single biggest
nuclear
problem. He thought
warhead
that our
supposedly
Okay, let's
going
move on
to Hawaii.
American families and the economy. One of the issues that's most important to them is health care, as you both know. Today, there was a key vote on a new Supreme Court Justice, Amy Coney Barrett.
Yeah, she's not being as biased as I thought she was.
She's doing okay. She's doing better than I expected.
Except for when he's trying to talk about North Korea, she's cutting him off.
It's headed to the Supreme Court, and your administration, Mr. President, is advocating for the court to
Much
overturn
better than
it.
the last guy.
If the Supreme
Yeah.
Court does overturn
100
that
times
law,
better.
those 20 million Americans could lose their health insurance almost overnight.
I must say,
So
everybody's
what
doing
would
much
you
So
better
once
this time.
again, they're
Those
bringing
people
this
have their
up.
health
Trump
insurance
wants
taken away. You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
pre-term.
First of all, I've already done something that nobody thought was possible. through the legislature, I terminated the individual mandate. That is the worst part of Obamacare, as we call it. The individual mandate where you have to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance.
Amen.
I terminated. It's gone. Now it's in court because Obamacare
still got asked on my tax
good.
returns if I had insurance the whole year or not.
Run it as well as you can to my people, great people. Run it as well as you can. I could have gone the other route.
Oh, because it's still in court.
Unhappy. They ran it.
So you still have to have it.
Down. Here's the problem. No matter how well you run it, it's
didn't pay a
good.
penalty this year for it.
Did
you have it? No. No.
We have the individual mandate.
Maybe you don't have to have it then. Maybe they're just asking. Maybe it's a tax.
I think they just got rid of the penalty for it. Is what it is.
Maybe it's a tax deduction then,
right?
If you do have it now.
But it no longer is Obamacare because without the individual mandate, it's much different. Pre-existing conditions will always stay. What I would like to do is a much better health care, much better, will always protect people with pre-existing. So I'd like to terminate Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful health care. The Democrats will do it because there'll be tremendous pressure on them, and we might even have the House by that time, and I think we're going to win the House, okay? You'll see, but I think we're going to win the House. But come up with a better health care, always protecting people with pre-existing conditions. And one thing very important, we have 180 million people out there that have great private health care. Far more than we're talking about with Obamacare. Joe Biden is going to terminate all of those policies. These are people that love their health care, people that have been successful, middle-income people.
I wish Trump at the very end of this would just be like, and he's coming for your guns. Boom. Drop the mic and walk out.
Drop the mic, let's go.
Under what he wants to do, which will basically be socialized medicine, he won't even have a choice. They want to terminate 180 million plans. We have done an incredible job on health care.
Do you know anybody that liked Obamacare?
Do even better.
Okay.
Probably.
President Biden, yes, this
like
is for
Obama
you.
fans.
Your healthcare plan calls for building on Obamacare. So my question is, what is
And I
your
said
plan
people who liked
if
it
the
were
law is
probably
ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Time this.
What I'm going to do is pass Obamacare with a public option. Become Biden care. The public option is an option that says that if you in fact do not have the wherewithal to be, if you qualify for Medicaid and you do not have the wherewithal in your state to get Medicaid, you automatically are enrolled, providing competition for insurance companies. That's what's going to happen. Secondly, we're going to make sure we reduce the premiums and reduce drug prices by making sure that there's competition
Didn't Trump
that
already do
doesn't
that?
exist now
Right.
by allowing
He's
the
plagiarizing.
Medicare to negotiate
Again.
drug prices
For the 500th time.
At least the third, you know, for sure.
Thirdly, the idea that
No, if you look on his website for what he would have did for the pandemic, it's exactly what Trump did. Everything is what Trump did is on his website.
That's why I didn't. Not one single person
He's losing his stuff.
would lose their insurance under my plan, nor did they under Obamacare. They did not lose their insurance unless they chose they wanted to go to something else. Lastly, we're going to make sure
that's accurate either.
that we actually protect pre-existing. There's no way he can protect pre-existing conditions.
How can you do it if he can't?
Zero. You can't do it in the ether. He's been talking about this for a long time.
How can he do it if Trump can't do
He's never come up with
it?
a plan. I guess we're going to get the pre-existing condition plan the same time we get the infrastructure plan that we've been waiting since 17, 18, 19, and 20. The fact, I still have a few more minutes. I know you're getting anxious.
No, you got 30 seconds.
The fact is that he's already cost the American
No, you got like 15 seconds.
terrible handling of the COVID virus and the economic spillover. 10 million people have lost their private insurance. And he wants to take away 22 million more people who have Obamacare.
Yeah,
and
time's
over
way up.
110 million people with pre-existing
Where's the interruption now?
and all the people from COVID
Shut him up.
are going to have pre-existing
Stop him.
conditions. What are they going to do?
Where are you
I have a
at?
follow-up for you, Vice President Biden. It relates to something that
more
President
time.
Trump said. He's accusing you of wanting socialized medicine. What do you say to people who have concerns that your health care plan, which includes a government insurance option, takes the country one step closer to a health care system run entirely by the government? What's your response
It's
to them?
ridiculous. It's like saying that, we're the idea that the fact that there's a public option that people can choose, that makes it a socialist plan. Look, the difference between the president, I think health
Not
care
bad.
is not a privilege, it's a right.
I feel like
Everyone should have the right to have affordable health care. And I am very proud of my plan. It's gotten endorsed by all the major labor unions as well as a whole range of
What was that labor
people who, in fact, are
union that
concerned
just
in
came
the
out and
medical
said that
field.
we did not
This is
back him at
something
all?
that's
Yeah, I
gonna
know.
save people's
I don't
lives.
know.
And this is going to give some
But
people
I did
an
hear that.
opportunity an opportunity to have health care for their children. How many of you home are worried and rolling around in bed tonight wondering what in God's name you're going to do if you get sick? Because you've lost your home insurance, your health insurance, your company's gone.
Home insurance, lost home insurance.
Health insurance for people.
Doesn't even know how insurance works.
That's what I do.
President Trump,
Excuse me, he was there
response.
for 47 years. He didn't do it. He was now there as vice president for 8 years, and it's not like it was 25 years ago. It was 3 3/4. It was just a little while ago, right? Less than 4 years ago. He didn't do anything. He didn't do it. He wants socialized medicine, and it's not that he wants it. His vice president, I mean, she is more liberal than Bernie Sanders and wants it even more. Bernie Sanders wants it. The Democrats want it. You're going to have socialized medicine, just like you went with fracking. We're not going to have fracking. We're going to stop fracking. We're going to stop fracking. Then he goes to Pennsylvania after he gets a nomination, where he got very lucky to get it. And he goes to Pennsylvania, and he says,
is his mic not muted?
We're going to have fracking. And you never asked that question. And by the way, so far, I respect very much the way you're handling this, I have to say.
Wow.
Somebody should ask the question.
That's really good. He said that to her. Wow. I'm very...
Let's watch how the media spins this tomorrow, though.
No, but that's a big question.
You have a hard time, and if they do, that just shows how biased they are.
Vice President, your response, please.
Because he has done amazing.
People deserve to have affordable health care, period. Period. And the Biden care proposal will, in fact, provide for that.
But isn't there health care? It's called Medicare, isn't it?
Before this election.
It's going to cost over
Shut up.
$750 billion.
What did he say?
He was going to vote for Biden before this debate. I hope it shows people, like, I hope people are actually watching it, not just catching the little
But look at
blips.
it. Like, can you go click out of it and see how many people are viewing this on NBC?
For
I
anybody
think
on
it said
healthcare.
30,000.
It was earlier, but
He's talking about socialized medicine.
So 53,000 are still watching it. I wonder how many is
When he
on.
talks about a public option, he's talking about destroying
All right.
Medicare.
Thank you.
it's only half our number.
And destroying your Social Security.
Yeah.
And this
No.
whole country will
No,
come
we're
down.
at 60.
You know, Bernie
Oh, we're only at
Sanders
60?
tried it in his
People.
state. He tried it in his state. His governor was a very liberal governor. They want to make it work.
Okay, let's let Vice President Biden respond.
It doesn't
Vice
work.
President
He's
Biden,
a very
your
confused
response.
guy. He thinks he's running against somebody else. He's running against Joe
You don't know who you are at the time, so that's suiting.
Joe Biden
Wow.
is running against.
620,000 's watching on CNN.
That they're going to destroy Medicare. This is the guy that the actuary at Medicare said, if in fact, at Social Security, if in fact he continues to withhold his plan to withhold
1 million is
tax
watching on
Social
ABC
Security,
News right now.
Social
Really?
Security
Cow.
will be
Nice.
bankrupt by 2023. With no way to make up for it. This is the guy who's tried to cut Medicare. So I mean, the idea that Donald Trump is lecturing me on Social Security and Medicare? Come on.
Come on.
He tried to get
10
rid of.
seconds,
He
Mr.
tried to
President,
hurt
and then I
Social
have to go to
Security
another
years
question.
ago. Years ago.
Is there going to be a third debate, or is this the final, right?
This is the third debate.
Social Security years ago.
That sucks.
All right, let's move
But
on.
this
I'm
is
going
the
to move
guy
on.
that
Let
when
me.
they
So I want to do a drinking game. You got to take a shot every time he says, "Come on."
Now, next week, guys, there will be no political advertisements on social media.
Right.
Facebook is completely taking all the advertisements out, guys, so you're really going to have to start listening to what's going on.
Educate yourself.
Yes, educate yourself on this, because come next week, Facebook is terminating ads between both parties, supposedly. So we'll see what happens. So,
Did you get that text I sent you last night about that one girl that does the political commentary that she got censored?
yes.
Got her video taken down and stuff, and they said that it was a strike, but they didn't give her a reason.
What happens to the ordinary people out there? What happens to them?
It's going to ramp up this week, though. I expect us to get a strike this week for sure.
401ks are through the roof.
We're gonna move on.
Stock are through the roof.
All
And
right.
he doesn't come from Scranton. That's like one of the, he lived there for a short period of time before he even knew
We're
it.
going to move on
and
to
he
the
left.
next question.
And the people of Pennsylvania
Let me
will
move
show
on
you
to my
that.
next question,
They
gentlemen.
understand.
As of tonight, more than 12 million people are out of work, and as of tonight, 8 million more Americans have fallen into poverty, and more families are going hungry every day. Those hit hardest are women and people of color. They see Washington fighting over
true,
a
though.
relief
I
bill.
know, but-
Mr. President, why haven't you been able to get them the help they need? 30 seconds here.
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I
Thank
do.
you.
But you're the president.
I do, but I still have to get. Unfortunately, that's one of the reasons I think we're going to take over the House, because of her. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve anything because she'd love to have some victories on a date called November 3rd. Nancy Pelosi does not want to approve it. We are ready, willing, and able to do something. Don't forget, we've already approved 3 plans, and it's gone through, including the Democrats, in all fairness. This one she doesn't want. It's near the election because she thinks it helps her politically. I think it hurts her politically.
All right, Mr. Vice President.
You know, the Republican leader in the United States Senate said he can't pass it. He will not be able to pass it. He does not have Republican votes. Why isn't he talking to his Republican friends?
Let me follow up with you, Vice President Biden, because let me ask Vice President Biden a question. You are the leader of the Democratic Party. Why have you not pushed the Democrats to get a deal for the American people?
Well, I have, and they have pushed it. Look, they passed this act all the way back in the beginning of the summer.
Wow.
This is like it's not new.
She wants, they supposedly want stuff for like the National freaking Museum and stuff like that in this bill.
Has to include like freaking $1 trillion for the Postal Service, who has lost money for the last 13 years in a row.
$45 billion to local communities that have to balance their budgets, the states have to balance their budgets, and then have to fire firefighters, teachers, first responders, law enforcement officers, so they can keep their cities and counties running. He will not support that. They have not done a thing for them.
Say it again?
Mitch McConnell said,
That's why I stood up and walked over there real quick.
Why would happen?
Pissed me off.
in the House was a bailout of badly run, high crime, Democrat, all run by Democrats, cities and states. It was a way of getting a lot of money, billions and billions.
I'm surprised he hasn't brought up Antifa yet.
It was also a way of getting a lot of money from our people's pockets to people that come into our
No, he's talking about the Democrat-run cities. I'm being bad.
Take care of everything for them.
Same thing.
I didn't hear him say Antifa.
He's
not talking
being
about
smart out.
being a smart out.
That's like the Portland mayor that's running right now. That is self-identified as Antifa.
Yeah.
Things that had nothing to do with COVID, as per your question, but it was really a big bailout for badly run Democrat cities and states.
Right.
if I get elected, I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'm going to be an American president. I don't see red states and blue states. What I see
because you're colorblind.
American, United States. And folks, every single state out there finds themselves in trouble. They're going to start laying off, whether they're red or blue, cops, firefighters, first responders, because teachers, because they.
Ooh, did you see Trump perk up a little bit there for a second? When he said police,
Trump's like, to compensate for the United
Don't
States
talk about
of
police,
America.
Joe.
I want to talk about the minimum wage, gentlemen. Mr. Vice President, we are talking a lot about struggling small businesses and business owners these days. Do you think this is the right time to ask them to raise the minimum wage?
No.
And of course, support a $15 federal minimum wage?
I do, because I think one of the things we're going to have to do is we're going to have to bail them out too. We should be bailing them out now.
It's common
small
sense.
Businesses. You got 1 in 6
If you
of them
boost
going under.
the higher unemployment rate or the minimum wage, it's going to lay more people off to be able to still produce. McDonald's has already gone to electronic ordering systems.
How they can make classrooms smaller, how they can hire more teachers, how they can put ventilation systems in.
The teachers don't get paid minimum wage.
The businesses
they get paid a salary.
The schools need the help, but these guys will not help them. Is not giving them any of the money.
We are going to move on to immigration, but I want
Why doesn't he get to answer?
Small businesses by
I know,
raising
she
the
always
minimum
wants
wage.
to
That's not
go
helping.
to the next
I
question.
think
Right.
It should be a state
She
option.
doesn't let him rebuttal at all.
Is different
I don't
than New York.
understand that.
New York is different from Vermont. Every
She is
state
doing
is
a good
different.
job,
It
but
should
she
be a
doesn't
state
let him
Now she's not. Ever since he said that, like, she's got to meet a quota, and it's not working right
How are
now.
you helping your small businesses when you're forcing wages? What's going to happen, and what's been proven to happen, is when you do that, these small businesses fire many of their employees.
You said
Right.
Oh, I just said that, did I not?
raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. You said recently you would consider raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. Is that still the case?
And I would consider it to an extent, but
In a
what I
second
really
administration?
like, in a second administration, but not to a level that's going to put all these businesses out of business. It should be a state option. Look, I've lived in different places. I know different places. They're all different. Some places
Can't have one size fits all.
$15 is not so bad.
California is extremely different than New York. Well, they're probably about the same, but California is different than South Carolina. Yeah, different than Michigan.
One job.
You check northern Michigan right now. Like, oh my goodness.
$6, $7, $8 an hour. These first responders, we all clap for as they come down.
They do not
the
make
street
$7 or $8
because
an
they've
hour.
allowed us to make it. What's happening? They deserve a minimum wage of $15.
No.
Anything below that,
Frederick Township makes at least starting out 13, 14.
Businesses go out of business. That is simply not true.
Frederick is a small rural community.
Now, gentlemen, and we're going to talk about families within this context. Mr. President, your administration separated children from their parents at the border.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
No,
that was Obama.
Obama did that.
Obama.
But the United States can't locate the parents of more than 500 children. So how will these families ever be reunited?
Children are brought here by coyotes and lots of bad people.
When he says coyotes, he doesn't mean actual animals, people.
Used to use them to get
That's for the. That's for.
You'd be amazed.
we've ever had.
For real.
400 miles of brand
Trump's comparing people, the Mexican population, to animals. He's calling them coyotes.
and they come in through.
But how will you reunite these kids with
purple
their
hair.
families, Mr.
They
President?
built cages. You know, they used to say, I built the cages. And then they had a picture in a certain newspaper. And it was a picture of these horrible cages. And they said, look at these
Sorry,
cages.
guys. Kyle had to go
President Trump
outside
built
to
them. And then it was
vent.
determined they were built in 2014. That was him.
Do you
They
have a
built
plan to
cages.
reunite the kids
Yes,
with
we're
their
working on it we're trying very hard. But a lot of these kids come out without the parents. They come over through cartels and through coyotes and through gangs.
Vice President Biden, let me bring you into this
525.
conversation. Quick response and then another question to you.
These 500 plus kids came with parents. They separated them at the border to make it a disincentive to come to begin with. They real tough. We're really strong. And guess what? They cannot. It's not coyotes didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents. And it makes us a laughing stock and violates every notion of who we are as a nation.
That's what I have to do when I start getting too upset. I have to walk out for a minute. I'm gonna say something unfriendly.
We did not.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Do not say that, because the cages were pictures that they showed of Trump's administration was during your administration. Do not sit here and lie to the American people, you old geezer. I'm trying to be nice.
Find over 500 of sets of those parents, and those kids are alone. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. It's criminal. It's
You're a criminal.
Let me ask
Kristen,
you
I will
about
say this. They went
10
down, we
seconds, and
brought
then I need to ask
reporters,
you.
everything. They are so well taken care of. They're in facilities that were so clean.
But some
and
of them
have gotten
haven't been
such good-
reunited
But
with
just
their
ask
families.
one question. Who built the cages? I'd love you to ask him that. Who built the cages?
Let me ask about your immigration
Amen.
policy.
Of course
Mr.
you're not gonna
President.
ask about who built the cages.
Did fail to deliver immigration
Joe Biden
policy,
did.
a key promise during the administration. It also presided over record deportations as well as family detentions at the border before changing course. So why should voters trust you with an immigration overhaul now?
Because it made a mistake. It took too long to get it right. It took too long to get it right. I'll be president of the United States, not vice president of the United States.
Oh, so is he blaming Barack Obama?
That's what I heard. It's just done.
He just said it was the president who did it. Oh my gosh, he just threw Barack Obama under the bus.
So-called dreamers, those DACA kids, they're going to be immediately certified again to be able to stay in this country and put on a path to citizenship.
They already
idea
are. The
that
Supreme Court said
they
you
are
can't change
being sent
DACA.
home by this guy, and they want to do that, is they've gone to a country they've never seen before. I can imagine you're 5 years old, your parents are taking you across the Rio Grande River, and it's
Oh, what a
and it's
fake
illegal.
fucking stutter.
You say, Mom,
Oh
leave me
my
here. I'm not
God.
going to go with you. They've been here. Many of them are model citizens. Over 20,000 of them are first responders out there taking care of people during this crisis. We owe them. We owe them.
I'm mad because I meant to say before this started, I was going to say that I bet you he does a fake stutter at one point.
And I've changed without having a specific. We got rid of catch and release. We got rid of a lot of horrible things that they put in and that they lived with. But he had 8 years he was vice president. He did nothing except build cages to keep children in.
Vice President Biden, your response.
The catch and release, you know what he's talking about there? If in fact you had a family came across and they were arrested, they in fact were given a date to show up for their hearing. They were released, and guess what? They showed up
No, they didn't.
for a hearing. And this is the first president in the history of the United States of America that anybody seeking asylum has to do it in another country. That's never happened before in America. That's never happened before in America. You come to the United States and you make your case.
I kind of don't like Trump not interjecting. I don't like it. I think he should interject sometimes.
They're sitting in squalor on the other side of the river.
I think it's given Biden just enough rope to hang himself.
No, I don't know. Like, I'm saying just a little bit, not do it extravagant like he did last time. But just a little bit. Like when you're calling out his bullcrap, do it then. Like, and not like.
Just makes him look bad though.
Some people like that. He's not a politician, like he said.
Some people, but he needs to win the people who don't like that. That's his that's the demographic he's really after right now.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
We have to send ICE out and Border Patrol out to find them. We would say, come back in 2 years.
There was a huge bus downstate in Detroit area. 77 people got rounded up yesterday.
No kidding.
Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ, they might come back.
Okay, President Trump, let's give Vice President Biden a
Why
chance
would
to
you
respond,
say
and then we're
that?
going to move on to the next section.
Yeah, he's got himself on
Biden,
the
Yeah.
there.
Know the law. What he's telling you is simply not true.
Well, check it out. They don't come back.
Check it out.
All right, let's move on.
But we don't have to worry about it because they terminated it, so we don't have to worry about it.
Let's move on to the next
And you have
section.
525 kids not knowing where in God's name they're going to be and lost their parents.
Go ahead.
All right. Let's talk about our next section, which is race
He should
in
not
America.
have said the IQ thing,
And
I don't
want to
think.
talk
Nope.
about the way
That
black
was
and brown
a big
Americans
shot in the foot.
experience
Well, he
race
did-
in this country.
In all
Part of
fairness,
that
he said the
experience is
ones
something
with.
called the talk. It happens regardless of class and income. Parents who feel they have no choice but to prepare their children for the chance that they could be targeted, including by the police, for no reason other than the color of their skin. Mr. Vice President, in the next 2 minutes, I want you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
I do. I do. You know, my daughter is a social worker, and she's written a lot about this. She has a graduate degree from the University of Pennsylvania in social work. And you know, one of the reasons why I ended up working on the east side of Wilmington, Delaware, which is 90% African American, was
So you
to
could lock
learn
'em up.
more about what was going on. What I never had to tell my daughter.
Because it's a race jungle.
If she's pulled over, make sure she puts for
That's what he said in the '94 crime bill.
on top of the wheel and don't reach for the glove box because someone may shoot you. But a black parent, no matter how wealthy or how poor they are, has to teach their child when you're walking down the street, don't have a hoodie on when you go across the street. Making sure that you, in fact, if you get pulled over, just yes, sir, no, sir.
Oh, God forbid you have manners.
Because you are, in fact, the victim, whether you're a person making $300,000.
I'm sorry, but I'm a white man. I still tell the officer, yes, sir, no, sir.
Right.
On food
It's called
stamps.
respect.
The fact of the matter is,
Show respect,
there
you get
is
respect.
Institutional racism in America, and we have always said. We've never lived up to it. That we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women are created equal.
I don't
Guess
like
what?
Trump's facial expressions.
We have never ever lived up to it, but we've always
Some of his
constantly been
facial
moving the
expressions
needle
is just
further and further to inclusion, not exclusion.
like he doesn't care.
This is the first
Shouldn't do that.
president to come along and says that's the end of that. We're not going to do that anymore. We have to provide for economic opportunity, better education, better health care, better access to schooling, better access to opportunity to borrow money to start businesses. All the things we can do, and I've laid
Stuff
out a
Trump's
clear
done.
plan as to how to do
Trump
those
made it
things,
easier for small
just
businesses
give
to
people a
start.
shot.
Oh,
It's about
absolutely.
accumulating the ability to have wealth as well as it is to be free from violence.
President Trump, same question to you, and let me
Back
remind
to
you
2
of
minutes.
the question. I would like you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
Yes, I do. And again, he's been in government 47 years. He never did a
Right.
thing except in 1994
Yes.
when he did such harm to the black community.
Thank you.
And they were called, and he called them super predators. And he said that. He said
Oh,
it, super
Mike's
predators.
muted. Nice.
And they have never lived that down. 1994, your crime bill, the super predators. Nobody has done more for the black community than Donald Trump.
Did he just call him a
And if you look,
BITCH?
with the exception
Like
of
Joe
Abraham
Biden.
Oh,
Lincoln,
he
possible
mumbled it, it looked like.
exception, but the exception of Abraham Lincoln, nobody has done what I've done. Criminal justice reform, Obama and Joe didn't do it. I don't even think they tried because they had no chance at doing it. They might have wanted to do it, but if you had to see the arms I had to twist to get that done, it was not a pretty picture, and everybody knows it, including some very liberal people that cried in my office.
And this week, Trump just clementsed 4 other African-American people with his crime bill. Nonviolent criminals.
Opportunity zones with Tim Scott, a great senator from South Carolina. He came in with this incredible idea for opportunity zones. It's one of the most successful programs. People don't talk about it. Tremendous investment is being made. Biggest beneficiary, the Black and Hispanic communities, and then historically Black colleges and universities. After 3 years of coming to the office, I love some of those guys. They were great. They came into the office and they said, I said, what are you doing? After 3 years, I said, why do you keep coming back? Because we have no funding. I said, you don't have to come back every year. We have to come back because President Obama would never give them long-term funding, and I did. 10-year long-term funding, and I gave them more money than they asked for because they said, I think you need more. And I said, the only bad part about this is I may never see you again because I got very friendly with them, and they like me and I like them. But I saved historically Black colleges and universities.
Well, it just happened just now.
I want to talk about both of your records, but your response
technical
to that,
difficulties.
Oh, I thought they tried to mute him real quick.
So we'll chalk it up to.
What he accused me of saying. The fact of the matter is, in 2000,
he gets to rebuttal.
After the crime bill had been in the law for a while, this is the guy who said the problem with the crime bill is not enough.
That was his question that she gave him.
Not enough people in jail. And go on my website.
Yeah, he got to answer the same question,
but he didn't get a chance to like go against what he said.
Marauding gangs, young gangs, and the people who are going to maraud our cities. This is the guy who, in the Central Park five innocent Black kids, he continued to push for making sure that they got the death penalty. None of them were guilty of the crimes they were suggested. Look, and talk about the death
penalty and crimes. Like,
let 20 people.
Watch him talk about the crime bill act.
We commuted over 1,000 people's sentences. Over 1,000. The very law he's talking about is a law that, in fact, was initiated by Barack Obama. And secondly,
Trump
we're in a situation here where the
God's not happy with Joe Biden right now.
By 38,000 people under our administration. And one of these things we should be doing, there should be no minimum mandatories in the law. That's why I'm offering $20 billion to states to change their state laws to eliminate minimum mandatories and set up drug courts. No one should be going to jail because they have a drug problem. They should be going to rehabilitation.
Why? You don't want your son to go to prison?
We should fundamentally change the system, and that's what I'm going to do.
But why didn't he do it 4 years ago? Why didn't you do that 4 years ago?
Why in your crime bill did you have minimum sentencings? In his crime bill, it strictly was like said that there was actual minimums for crimes. So it took the actual ability out of the judge's hands to say, like, okay, you know, you're in a bad spot, like, I understand that, yada yada. There was minimum sentencing he put in place for those crimes. The same thing he's saying now that there shouldn't be.
President Biden, your response to that, and then I do have some questions for both of you.
Well, I tell you what, I hope he does look at me, because what's happening here is, you know who I am, you know who he is, you know his character, you know my character. You know our reputations for honor and telling the truth.
No, you do not, man. Oh my gosh.
I'm anxious to see this take place. The character of the country is on the ballot. Our character is on the ballot. Look at us closely.
Let me ask some follow-up. Please respond, and then we're going to have follow-up.
If this stuff is true about Russia, Ukraine, China, other countries, Iraq, if this is true, then he's a corrupt politician. Right. So don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent baby.
Right.
No, they're calling you a corrupt politician.
Nobody.
Yes, they are. People are calling you corrupt.
We're talking about the issue.
From hell.
President Trump, we're talking about race right now, and I do want to stay on the issue of race. President Trump,
I have to respond to that.
Please.
Because look, there are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plan. They have said that this has all the five former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
That's exactly what.
That's why your lawyer called this morning asking if he could get it back.
Gentlemen, I want to stay on the issue of race.
You
okay?
have to be kidding. Here we go again with Russia.
We're going to continue on the issue of race. Mr. President,
he is scared. Trump just...
the Black Lives Matter movement as a symbol of hate. You've shared a video of a
it
man
is.
chanting white power to millions of your supporters.
No, he didn't.
You've said that black professional athletes exercising their First Amendment rights should be fired. What do you say to Americans who say that kind of language from a president is contributing to a climate of
I'm gonna have to walk out again in a second.
You have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about our police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. I said, that's a horrible thing. And they were marching down the street. And that was my first glimpse of Black Lives Matter. I thought it was a terrible thing. As far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person.
We need to make a shirt that says "Who built the cages, Joe?" We should do that. And how do we get on Teesprings and do that? Right before people do it.
Literally do it in 5 seconds.
How do we do that? Because people are already starting to comment on, like, who built the cages, Joe?
Grab my tablet. We'll get this going right now.
Yeah, because I want to get T-shirts before everyone else does.
They can say anything.
So we don't get plagiarism stuff.
It makes me sad because I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark, but I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the least racist person in this room.
Okay, Vice President Biden, let me ask you very quickly, and then I have a follow-up question for you.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. He pours fuel on every...
That's not Abraham Lincoln. That's Joe Biden. That's President Trump.
Donald Trump.
Started off his campaign coming down the escalator saying he's going to get rid of those Mexican rapists.
Yes, because they're rapists. They're raping people.
Sorry if you...
What is the
MS-13, I'm sorry, like, brags about raping.
What is the Kate Law from California? The guy who raped the girl and then shot her in the head? He was a... We'll hike it. Hey, oh my goodness. Okay, I'm starting to stutter. He was deported from Mexico, deported to Mexico over 4 times.
Lincoln, where did that come in? I mean,
you said you're Abraham Lincoln.
No, where did that? No.
Oh, you're confused, Joe.
Since Abraham Lincoln, has anybody done what I've done for the black community?
He never said he's Abraham.
I didn't say I'm Abraham Lincoln. I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community. Now, you have done nothing other than the crime bill, which put tens of thousands of black men, mostly, in jail.
All right,
that is true, Joe. Quit lying.
Look at what's happening with the voting right now.
Let me ask Vice President
Biden. You treated them very, very badly. Just take a look at what's happening out there.
Vice President Biden, let me give you a chance.
He's lying, man. Gosh, I cannot stand that.
You supported in the 80s and 90s contributed to the incarceration of
Chandler's got to walk out now. This is going to be a new trend. Like, we're going to walk out and scream obscenities and come back in.
Their brothers, their fathers, their uncles, whose families are still to this day, some of them suffering the consequences. So speak to those families. Why should they vote for you?
One of the things is that in the 80s, we passed 100%, all 100 senators voted for it, a bill on drugs and how to deal with drugs. It was a mistake. I've been trying to change the since then, particularly the portion on cocaine. That's why I've been arguing that, in fact, we should not send anyone to jail for a pure drug offense. They should be going into treatment across the board. That's what we should be spending money. That's why I set up drug courts, which were never funded by our Republican friends. They should not be going to jail for a drug or an alcohol problem. They should be going into treatment. That's what we've been trying to do. That's what I'm going to get done, because I think maybe the American people have now seen that, in fact, it was a mistake to pass those laws relating to drug. But they were not in the crime bill.
But why didn't he get it done? See, it's all talk, no action with these politicians. Why didn't he get it done? That's what I'm going to do when I become president. You were vice president along with Obama as your president, your leader, for 8 years. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years to get it done. Now you're saying you're going to get it done because you're all talk and no action, Jim.
We got a lot of it done. We released 38,000. We got 38,000 prisoners left from the.
You got nothing done.
38,000 prisoners were released from federal prison. There were over 1,000 people who were given clemency. In fact, we're the ones that put in the legislation saying we could look at pattern and practice of police departments and what they were doing, how they were conducting themselves. I could go on, but we began the process. We lost an election. That's why I'm running to win back that election and change his terrible policy.
I just asked
on
one question.
Change.
Why didn't you do it in the 8 years, a short time ago? Why didn't you do it? You just said, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. You put tens of thousands of mostly black young men in prison. Now you're saying you're going to undo that. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years with Obama. You know why, Joe? Because you're all talk and no action.
All right, Vice President Biden, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
Well, how does she...
We had a Republican Congress.
Come on, that does not mean anything.
Well, you got to talk them into it, Joe. Sometimes
all right.
You got to talk them into it.
We're going to move on to our next section,
like I did with criminal justice reform. Okay. I had to talk Democrats into it.
Gentlemen, we're running out of time, so we got to
You did not.
Climate change, please. You both have very different visions on climate change. President Trump, you say that environmental regulations have hurt jobs in the energy sector. Vice President Biden, you have said you see addressing climate change as an opportunity to create new jobs. For each of you, how would you both combat climate change and support job growth at the same time? Starting with you, President Trump, you have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
So we have the Trillion Trees program. We have so many different programs. I do love the environment, but what I want is the cleanest, crystal clear water, the cleanest air. We have the best, lowest number in carbon emissions, which is a big standard that I notice Obama goes with all the time. Not Joe. I haven't heard Joe use the term because I'm not sure he knows what it represents or means, but I have heard Obama use it. And we have the best carbon emission numbers that we've had in 35 years under this administration. We are working so well with industry, but here's what we can't do. Look at China, how filthy it is. Look at Russia. Look at India. It's filthy. The air is filthy. The Paris Accord
Look at California.
Because we
Did he say California?
Spend trillions of dollars, and we were treated.
California's air is garbage. It's run by Democrats.
They were going to take away our businesses. I will not sacrifice tens of millions of jobs, thousands and thousands of companies because of the Paris Accord. It was so unfair. China doesn't kick in until 2030. Russia goes back to a low standard, and we kicked in right away. It would have destroyed our businesses. So, you ready? We have done an incredible job environmentally. We have the cleanest air, the cleanest water, and the best carbon emission standards that we've seen in many, many years.
Vice President
and we
Biden.
haven't destroyed our industries.
Vice President Biden, 2 minutes to you, uninterrupted.
Climate change, climate warming, global warming is an existential threat to humanity. We have a moral obligation to deal with it. And we're told by all the leading scientists in the world we don't have much time. We're going to pass the point of no return within the next 8 to 10 years.
They've been saying that since 2000.
Man, eliminating all the regulations that were put in by us to clean up the climate, to limit the limit of emissions, will put us in a position where we're going to be in real trouble. Here's where we have a great opportunity.
You should put Joe Biden's face behind it.
To get both all the
Can you do that or not?
as well
I can try.
I was just wondering.
Right. I need to get our graphic designer in here is what I need to do.
Oh, sorry. Don't worry about it. I was just wondering.
Right. I just want to get something up fast.
We're going to invest in, for example, 50,000 charging stations on our highways so that we can own the electric car market of the future. In the meantime, China is doing that. We're going to be in a position where we're going to see to it that we're going to take 4 million existing buildings and 2 million existing homes and retrofit them so they don't leak as much energy, saving hundreds of millions of barrels of oil in the process and creating significant number of jobs. And by the way, the whole idea of what this is all going to do, it's going to create millions of jobs, and it's going to clean the environment. Our health and our jobs are at stake. That's what's happening. And right now, by the way, Wall Street firms indicated that my plan will in fact create 18.6 million jobs, 7 million more than his. This is from Wall Street. And I'll create $1 trillion more in economic growth than his proposal does. Not on climate, just on the economy.
President Trump,
Today came out and said very strongly $6,500 will be taken away from families under his plan. That his plan is an economic disaster. If you look at what he wants to do, you know, if you look at his plan, his environmental plan, you know who developed it? AOC +3. They know nothing about the climate. I mean, she's got a good line of stuff, but she knows nothing about the climate. And they're all hopping through hoops for AOC +3. Look, their real plan costs $100 trillion. If we had the best year in the history of our country for 100 years, we would not even come close to a number like that. When he says buildings, they want to take buildings down because they want to make bigger windows into smaller windows. As far as they're concerned, if you had no window, it would be a lovely thing. This is the craziest plan that anybody has ever seen. And this wasn't done by smart people. This wasn't done by anybody. Frankly, I don't even know how it could be good politically. Right. They want to spend $100 trillion. That's their real number. He's trying to say it was 6. It's $100 trillion. They want to knock down buildings and build new buildings with little, tiny, small windows. I mean, and many other things. Okay. And many other things.
Let me have the Vice President respond, and we're running out of time, and we have a lot more questions to get to. So let's hear from the Vice President. I have a number more questions.
I don't know where he comes from. I don't know where he comes up with these numbers. $100 trillion.
He's from Queens, homie.
This plan was plan is endorsed by every major environmental group and every labor group. Labor, because they know the future lies. The future lies in us being able to breathe, and they know there are good jobs in getting us there. And by the way, the fastest growing industry in America is the electric. Solar energy and wind. He thinks wind causes cancer, windmills. It's the fastest growing jobs, and they pay good prevailing wages, $45, $50 an hour. We can grow and we can be cleaner if we go the route I'm proposing.
President Trump, please respond, and then I have some follow-ups.
We are energy independent for the first time. We don't need all of these countries that we had to fight war over because we needed their energy. We are energy independent. I know more about wind than you do. It's extremely expensive, kills all the birds, it's very intermittent, it's got a lot of problems, and they happen to make the windmills in both Germany and China. And the fumes coming up, if you're a believer in carbon emission, the fumes coming up to make these massive windmills is more than anything that we're talking about with natural gas, which is very clean. One other thing.
Find me a scientist that said that.
I love solar, but solar doesn't quite have it yet. It's not powerful yet to really run our big, beautiful factories that we need to compete with the world. So it's all a pipe dream. But you know what we'll do?
So you're saying solar power is not better?
In the world.
You have to have all these generators for wind power,
get rid of
right?
Oil industry.
Or turbines.
You want, and what about fracking?
All right, let me allow Vice President Biden to respond.
I never said I oppose fracking.
Yes, you did.
I did. Show the tape. Put it on your website.
I'll put it on.
Put it on the website. The fact of the matter
He's telling his people right now, put it on the website.
Would you rule out banning fracking?
I do rule out banning fracking because the answer, we need other
today,
industries
Joe,
to transition to get to ultimately a complete zero emissions by 2025. What I will do with fracking over time is make sure that we can capture the emissions from the fracking, capture the emissions from gas. We can do that, and we can do that by investing money and doing it. But it's a transition to that.
I have one more question in this pod, and then we have...
He was against fracking. He said it. I will show that to you tomorrow. I am against fracking. Until he got the nomination, went to Pennsylvania, then he said, but you know what, Pennsylvania? He'll be against it very soon because his party is totally against
fracking.
Kamala Harris.
I said no fracking and or oil on federal land.
Let me ask this final question in this section, and then I want to move on to our final section. President Trump, people of color are much more likely to live near oil refineries and chemical plants. In Texas, there are families who worry the plants near them are making them sick. Your administration has rolled back regulations on these kinds of facilities. Why should these families give you another 4 years in office?
The families that we're talking about are employed heavily, and they are making a lot of money, more money than they've ever made. If you look at the kind of numbers that we produce for Hispanic, for Black, for Asian, it's 9 times greater, the percentage gain, than it was under, in 3 years, than it was under 8 years of the 2 of them. to put it nicely. 9 times more. Now, somebody lives, I have not heard the numbers or the statistics that you're saying, but they're making a tremendous amount of money economically. We saved it, and I saved it again a number of months ago when oil was crashing because of the pandemic. Okay. We saved it.
Everything about Trump on Google right now is just nothing but hate.
Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Russia to cut back, way back. We saved our oil industry, and now it's very vibrant again. And everybody has very inexpensive gasoline. Remember
Vice President Biden, your response, and then we're going to have a final question for both of you.
My response is that those people live on what they call fence lines. He doesn't understand this. They live near chemical plants that in fact pollute, chemical plants and oil plants and refineries that pollute. I used to live near that when I was growing up in Claymont, Delaware. And all the more oil refineries in Marcus Hook and the Delaware River than there is any place, including in Houston at the time. When my mom get in the car and when there was first frost to drive me to school, turn in the windshield wiper, there'd be oil slick in the window. That's why so many people in my state were dying and getting cancer. The fact is, those frontline communities, it doesn't matter what you're paying them, it matters how you keep them safe. What do? And you impose restrictions on the pollutions, the pollutants coming out of those fence line communities.
Okay, I have one final question.
Would he close down the oil industry?
It falls.
Would you close down the oil industry?
By the way, I would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I would transition. It is a big statement.
That's a
because I would stop.
Why would you do that?
Because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
I see.
Here's the deal. But
that's
you can't
a big
do
statement.
That. Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy over time. And I'd stop giving to the oil industry, I'd stop giving them federal subsidies. He won't give federal subsidies to the gas, excuse me, to solar and wind.
Yeah.
Why are we giving it to oil industry?
We actually do give it to solar and wind.
And
that's maybe the biggest statement in terms of business. That's the biggest statement.
Okay.
Because basically what he's saying is he is going to destroy
No, let him speak.
The oil industry. Will you remember that, Texas? Will you remember that, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma?
Vice President Biden, let me give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I have to get to the final question. Vice President Biden.
He takes everything out of context, but the point is,
you just said it.
We have to move.
How is that out of context if it come out of your mouth? Please tell me.
The first place to do that by the year 2035 is in energy production. By 2050, total.
He's going the same way California's doing right now.
No, we're finished with this. We have to move on to our final question. We have to move on to our final question.
I'm going to rejoin Paris Accord and make China abide by what they agreed to.
You're such a liar. You didn't do it in 8 years.
Gentlemen, and this first question does go to you, President Trump. Imagine this is your inauguration day. What will you say in your address to Americans who did not vote for you? You'll each have 1 minute, starting with you, Mr.
We have to make our country totally successful as it was prior to the plague coming in from China. Now we're rebuilding it, and we're doing record numbers, 11.4 million jobs in a short period of time, etc. But I will tell you, go back. Before the plague came in, just before, I was getting calls from people that were not normally people that would call me. They wanted to get together. We had the best black unemployment numbers in the history of our country. Hispanic, women, Asian, people with diplomas, with no diplomas, MIT graduates, #1 in the class. Everybody had the best numbers. And you know what? The other side wanted to get together. They wanted to unify. Success is going to bring us together. We are on the road to success. But I'm cutting taxes, and he wants to raise everybody's taxes, and he wants to put new regulations on everything. He will kill it. If he gets in, you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen. Your 401ks will go to hell, and it'll be a very, very sad day for this country.
All right. Vice President Biden, same question to you. What will you say during your inaugural address to Americans who did not vote for you?
I will say, I'm an American president. I represent all of you, whether you voted for me or against me. And I'm going to make sure that you're represented. I'm going to give you hope. We're going to move. We're going to choose science over fiction. We're going to choose hope over fear. We're going to choose to move forward because we have enormous opportunities to make things better. We can grow this economy. We can deal with the systemic racism. And at the same time, we can make sure that our economy is being run and moved and motivated by clean energy, creating millions of new jobs. And that's the fact. That's what we're going to do.
Look, it's already on his website.
Say, as I said at the beginning,
on
what
Trump's?
is on the ballot here
nice.
is the character of this country. Decency, honor, respect, treating people with dignity, making sure that everyone has an even chance. And I'm going to make sure you get that. You haven't been getting it the last 4 years.
All right, I want to thank you both for a very robust hour and a half, a fantastic debate. Really appreciate it. President Trump, former Vice President Joe Biden.
She was really good. Like, I'm very surprised that NBC of all people, her and everything were very, very. She was. She did a little bit. Like, she did interject him a lot, not Joe Biden as much. But
and there you have it, the second presidential debate,
Donald
third. Trump and Joe Biden.
I think there was only 2 debates.
The second one got canceled because they wanted to do it virtual.
Right. And we'll have more to talk about that in a moment. But what we saw there,
President Trump was busy kicking Corona's butt.
Last debate, we saw 2 Donald Trumps there. The flashes near the end of the one we heard in the last debate, a little more combative, talking over, but certainly a lot more restrained than we saw him in the first debate.
Oh my gosh.
We had a real debate. There was substance discussed, there were policies discussed, there was back and forth. I think it'll be a relief to a lot of people that there wasn't that interrupting that we saw in the first debate. It didn't devolve into deeply personal areas, and the American people got a real look tonight at what the choice is before them.
And the question is, did each of these men do what they needed to do under the circumstances? 12 days out in the election, the polls being what they are. Let's go to Chuck Todd right now, who's been watching along with us. Chuck, right off the top, what stood out?
Chuck, right off the top.
Well, first of all, the muted mics thing turned out to be a good idea.
Just a second. I definitely want to talk about how.
Here,
do you want me to cut the debate?
I do want to give a
yeah,
shout
go ahead and
out to
cut that. That's fine.
Kristen Walker, I think, just had.
He's a fraud, anyways, Chuck Todd.
Would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated and no more subsidies for either one of those. I guarantee we're going to end fossil fuel. No new fracking. I'd gradually move away from fracking.
And I think it's critically important on day one that we end any fossil fuel leases on public lands.
Well, like, what about, say, stopping fracking and stopping pipeline infrastructure and
Guys, this right here is the Joe Biden saying he wants to get rid of fracking. He is lying to you people. You have to stop. Do your own research, people. Please. You're not doing any justice to your friends and family. If you let him get in the presidency, he is a known liar, a known plagiarist. He is going to hurt America. Get rid of the media and look at what Trump has done for America, and you will see a complete difference in what actually has happened. The media is doing so much coverage for Joe Biden that is ridiculous. That's why they didn't even bring up the laptop. That should be the #1 question for Joe Biden, was the laptop, and pressure him on it. Not say, is the allegations true or not? They know it's true. There's been numerous people come out. What's his name? Tony Bobulinski or something like that, just came out right before the debate with 3 different cell phones, and he says it's all on these phones of what just happened. So he's lying to you guys, I'm telling you. Then he goes out and says Lincoln was a racist president. Come on. Get out of my face. But anyways, what were you going to say, Kyle?
I can't remember.
Sorry. But I probably look like a goofball with my hoodie on, right, with the headphones on. But what's up, everyone?
Oh, well. Well, I mean, really, you need to go back and look at his 1995 Crime Bill Act, where he talked about 1994 Crime Bill Act.
Well, it got signed in 95.
Where he talks about mandatory minimum sentencing for nonviolent drug offenses. He's not a friend to you if you think he is, and he's trying to play that he is, bringing up all this BS about, look around the table and see who's not there. Well, who's not there? Who's still in jail over these crimes that were committed way back you know, when he was in the administration, that people are still paying for to this day, and who have felonies on their record because of the laws he put in place. So don't let him fool you, because he's going to get in. It's going to be the same old song and dance over and over again.
Yeah, but and what did he say about he didn't want his kids to grow up in a what? Didn't want to go to schools with did he said something along the lines of a jungle or something like that?
Something like that.
But man, he's not for the people, he's for his pockets.
Right.
And that's all he's ever been. I want to look up what the salary is for a senator. A U.S. senator is so $174,000, and so times how long was he in the Senate for? So 47 minus 8
years.
Is 39. Right?
I don't know why this isn't showing up. It's really irritating me.
$6.7 million. And that's just from the Senate.
Right, he's made enough. Like, he's not hurting from any of this, and oh my god, this isn't showing up. I don't know why. It's really irritating me.
Joe Biden's
It's probably getting censored already. But anyways, well, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. You know, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We're gonna be doing as much as we can the next 2 weeks.
Yes.
Because you're not gonna get the information the other way. So we'll more than likely, like I said earlier, more than likely get a strike against us. But we'll find out.
Why would we get strikes? We didn't do anything wrong.
Doesn't matter. They're striking everybody right now.
Well,
there's not a single conservative channel that hasn't got a strike in the last couple weeks. So
yeah. Ken, there's also been new information. Facebook and Twitter have been subpoenaed to show up next week in front of the Senate.
Nice.
So to get grilled, hopefully, on why they censored everything.
Yep.
But they'll probably just say I plead the fifth or something like that, or give some stupid excuse like how like the content didn't seem credible, so we don't want to spread fake content. But they spread the fake Russia hoax. That's what
more than likely.
But yes, guys, we love you. Thank you for watching with us, and be sure to go comment on our video, like, subscribe on YouTube, hit the notification bell, and go on Facebook, The Woke Conservatives, and Twitter, and look up The Woke Conservatives and like us there. We appreciate all the support, and we look to doing the next week and a half. Is it about a week and a half now we have until the election?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we hope that this debate did change your mind about Donald Trump if you weren't decided yet, but who knows? Let's keep America free.
Thanks, guys.
Aren't you supposed to say something else?